Today, I'm cooking from Better Homes and Gardens, Meals for One or Two. This book was published in 1978. And if you're a frequent watcher of my channel, you know that I am very often cutting recipes in half. I live in a small household, and not only that, I cook a lot of recipes. And yes, I could make full amounts and I could freeze it. I'm very familiar with my freezer. We're good friends. I already end up with a lot of food when I cut recipes in half. I give some of it away, but it's always nice to find these cookbooks that have recipes that only make 1 or 2 servings. It's like I don't even have to do the mental math, right? So I'm gonna make a full meal today. It's gonna be a full dinner. I'm actually eating it for lunch, but you could have this for dinner. Today's menu is creamy chicken tarragon, wilted spinach salad, and fresh fruit crisp. I'm gonna start by preparing the fresh fruit crisp. And I like to start with the dessert first a lot of times when I make full meal videos, just because it's like you don't have to eat it immediately, typically. Something you can make a little bit ahead of time, and then you can prepare the rest of your meal. So fresh fruit crisp, it's on the page. I don't know why, but this page in my cookbook is like, it's been torn out and then tucked back in. At least it's still there, but I'll come show you the recipe. Pretty typical fruit crisp recipe. You can change the fruit out depending on what you have or what is in season. Some of these suggestions that it gives are peeled peaches, apples, or pears. I'm going with apples because I pretty much always have apples on hand. In a small mixing bowl, combine rolled oats, brown sugar, flour, pecans, cinnamon, salt. So it's like the first several ingredients. So I do have a tablespoon of butter in this bowl, and I have 2 tablespoons of rolled oats. It says quick cooking rolled oats. So I usually only keep like rolled oats, like the old fashioned oats in my pantry, but you can take those and chop them up in a food processor, and it turns them into quick oats. So for this, you know, it's great. I don't have to go out and buy a different thing. 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. Oh, I measured this earlier and it was not a good idea. Not too bad. I like to get all of the ingredients prepped for these videos just because it's so much easier to like have it all ready. I don't cook like that in real life most of the time. Sometimes I do a little bit of prep work, but not the way I do for my videos. I have a tablespoon of all-purpose flour. I have a tablespoon of chopped pecans. That is optional, and I decided to go with it because I had them, and I do like pecans. And I have my cinnamon, salt, and nutmeg here. It's 1/8 of a teaspoon of cinnamon, a pinch of nutmeg, and a pinch of salt. And we're working with a very small amount here. So I'm just gonna use a fork to cut the butter into this mixture. If I'm doing like a big crisp or crumble of some kind where I have to cut butter into something, I have a pastry blender, but because it's such a small amount, I'm just gonna use a little fork. Some people like to do this with 2 butter knives as well. So do it the way you wanna do it. Do it the way that works for you. I'm gonna bring in my apples and have a little sugar here too. So this is 2 cups of peeled, sliced Granny Smith apples. You're supposed to place your apples in 1 cup casserole dishes or have like ramekins here. And then in this little dish, I have 2 teaspoons of granulated sugar. And you're just supposed to sprinkle that on top of your apples. I wanted to put this on a little baking tray, little sheet pan. First off, because I'm probably gonna get messy with this topping. Like these, these little dishes are quite full. And also in case anything kind of spills over, then it doesn't like go into your oven, which is nice. And I have my crumb topping here. It smells so good with that cinnamon. And I've been preheating my oven to 350 degrees, so it is ready to go. We'll see how much of this we can get on there. One of the things I like to do, if I'm making apple crumble, which to me, a crisp has oats in it and a crumble is just like the flour butter mixture, like flour, butter, cinnamon, etc. But one of the things I like to do when I'm doing apple crumble is I'll make a big batch of the crumble topping and I'll freeze some of it. So then if I want a dessert a little bit faster one night, all I have to do is like peel and slice my apples, put them in the dishes, and then the crumble topping's ready to go. I don't have to like make that separately or measure anything out separately. It's just kind of like, it's nice. It's like you have it part of the way ready to go. Yeah, I'm not being super precise on this, as you can see. Pick it up, put it back. It's all right. Nobody has to know. I think I could have done this. If I wanted to not do the individual dishes, I could do this in my little 1-quart casserole dishes would work. Those little Corningware casseroles. Okay. Oh, it smells so good. All right, well, this is ready for the oven, so I have to bake it at 350 degrees for 40 minutes. While my apple crisp is baking in the oven, I'm gonna start working on the creamy chicken tarragon right here. And I will have this recipe written in the description below this video. I'll have all of them written there. Creamy chicken tarragon. This seems like it's a nice stovetop recipe with chicken in a sauce, and then you serve it over rice. It says to use a whole medium chicken breast, skinned, split, and boned. Boneless, skinless chicken at this time was like not super out there, you know? Like I'm used to working with chicken with skin and bones. Often I prefer it, but I think a lot of people, especially if they're just starting to cook, maybe a little bit more recently, most of their encounters with chicken is going to be of the boneless, skinless variety. When I went to my store, and I only admittedly just went to one store, it's all I could manage that day. My store had thin chicken breasts, like that's what they had. So that is what I ended up with. So you're supposed to take a whole chicken breast and like take the skin off, take the bones out, and then pound it with like a meat mallet, or I like to use my French rolling pin for that, just to make it a little bit like thinner. Since this is already thin chicken breast, I'm cutting that stuff out, but I'll include it when I write out the recipe, but just know I didn't end up doing that because my chicken breast was already in very thin pieces. It also doesn't give an indication of like how much chicken that is. So I'm going under the assumption that it's like 8 to 10 ounces of chicken all in, like when you're done like taking the bones out and taking the skin off and stuff. So I think, yeah, this is like maybe 9 ounces of chicken that I've cut into 1.5 inch pieces. I'm gonna set that aside. Now I'm gonna make a bit of a coating for these chicken pieces. I'm gonna do it in a zip top bag. This is definitely not a brand name Ziploc bag. I do prefer using freezer bags though, just because they're a little bit thicker. In plastic bag, combined flour. So I have 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour in here. In you go. I have my salt and my tarragon. It is 1/4 teaspoon of salt and 1/4 teaspoon of dry tarragon. So you can see it's like not a huge amount because we're only making enough for 2 servings. And then I need some lemon peel. So I washed this. If you're gonna like take the peel off of a lemon, do the zest, definitely make sure you gotta wash this thoroughly first. I'm gonna use my little Flexi Zesty for this. I'm not gonna measure it. You've seen me use this little zester before. My mom got it for me, I think at Marshall's. That would make sense. So they are out there. Yeah, okay. It's maybe even a little bit more than we need, but I'm just gonna stick it right in there. I'm gonna set this aside because I'm gonna need some of the juice later. Okay. Is there any pepper? Let me just make sure. Nope. Just salt, tarragon, lemon peel, shake chicken pieces in the flour mixture to coat evenly. I'm gonna use some tongs to do this. Like little chicken nuggets. You know, I don't remember eating chicken nuggets when I was very young. I think maybe like later in school, like our cafeteria would have them occasionally, but we had like oven fried chicken with like skin and bones and stuff. So I don't know, I'm at that weird age between millennial and Gen X. And I also I grew up in like a really small town. So there were certain things that like maybe we didn't have all the time, or maybe my parents just didn't buy that stuff. I'm not sure. And there's nothing wrong with having that in your life. I love a chicken nugget. I don't know how we got here on chicken nuggets. It's my fault. Okay, no shame in a chicken nugget. Make sure that the chicken pieces are well coated. I need to take the chicken pieces out of here, but it says to reserve the remaining flour. I think that is what we're gonna use to like thicken the sauce. Normally, if I was coating chicken with breadcrumbs or flour or something and I had some left, throw it right away. Some say it's safe to save and reuse your dredging flour if you seal it and you keep it at a safe temperature in your freezer. I personally wouldn't take the risk. I would rather throw it away or use it in a sauce like I'm doing in this video just to be on the safe side. Unless otherwise stated in the recipe, because you're going to use it for something that is food safe, in which case if we use this flour to thicken the sauce later, it's going to get cooked and it's fine. But like, yeah, don't reuse any extra breadcrumbs that have been contaminated with chicken juice. I'm sure a lot of you already know these things, but just in case, you know, it's not bad to be reminded. All right, I'm gonna take the chicken pieces out. They're nicely coated. I'm gonna kind of shake off some of the excess too. Yeah, if I see any like bare pieces that stuck together, I'm kind of just moving them around in the bag. Make sure that everything is covered. I think that's everything. I'm just gonna like do a little investigation. Yeah, all right, I got it all. So this is my plate of chicken, and now I need to move over to the stovetop. I need to cook my chicken pieces, so I have about a tablespoon of oil in this pan that I'm heating up, and it says to cook the chicken in hot oil for 4 to 5 minutes or until tender and browned. And I'm gonna start placing my chicken in the pan here. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and let that get nice and brown on both sides. So this is my chicken. It is lightly browned, and I am just about ready to take it out of the pan. You're gonna cook this in the sauce like afterward too. So really you just kind of have to get a little bit of color on the chicken. If you're worried that maybe it's not cooked all the way through, it'll cook the rest of the way in a little bit here. I've removed my nicely browned chicken to a plate, and I have my pan here with the remaining oil, and I'm supposed to add the rest of my flour mixture. Sorry if this looks weird, but so I got some on the stovetop, but that's all right. We'll clean it up later. Don't get super worried if you're making a little bit of a mess. Like, that's part of cooking. It just seems like everybody feels like they have to be so perfect when they cook, but it's like, no, you're gonna make some messes, and it's all right. Add water, milk, and bouillon granules. I've got 1/3 cup of water here. Look at you. Do I want to whisk? Do I want to whisk? I might get a whisk. We're gonna get one. We're just gonna get one. Why not? I'm just gonna use it to sort of break up any lumps in here. I don't have the heat very high on this right now. Not even, it's like medium low. I have 1/3 cup of milk here as well. That's where the creaminess comes from. And a teaspoon of chicken bouillon granules. My apple crisp is still baking in the oven, but it just smells so good right now. So I'm gonna blend all of these things together. Try to get them a little bit more smooth. But this is gonna make like a nice sauce actually. I believe I have one more ingredient, and that is the lemon juice. So I have a teaspoon of lemon juice to add to this. Just a little bit. So I am gonna blend that in. All right, what do we got? That's nice. That is nice. Oh yeah, the lemon juice really adds a nice brightness. Okay, so now I need to put my chicken back in here. I'm gonna keep this on pretty low heat because I really just want to keep this warm while I like finish cooking. And it says to serve it over like hot parsleyed rice. I have one of these. I like to keep these rice pouches on hand for like really quick side dishes. You know, it makes just the right amount for both of us, and you just microwave it and it's great. They come in different flavors and stuff if you want, or you can do plain. So I always like to have a few of those in my pantry. All right, low heat. And I'm actually, you don't have to do that. If you're gonna eat this right away, it doesn't say to cover it, but because I'm making another dish, I am just gonna put it under low heat and like cover this until I'm ready to plate it. Finally, I'm making a wilted spinach salad to complete the meal. Before I get started on the wilted spinach salad, I wanted to show you the apple crisp that just came out of the oven. Piping hot. I'm gonna let it sit here and cool a little while I finish making everything else. All right, a wilted spinach salad. So basically, we're gonna get our spinach ready here, and then I'm gonna make a hot bacon dressing over on the stove. I said I wasn't going to have to do any mental math in this. I realized I only had enough spinach for one serving of this. Generous servings. You're supposed to start with 4 cups of fresh spinach. I have 2 cups of fresh spinach here that I washed. I took the stems off and then I sliced it. The leaves were pretty big, so I cut it into pieces. It says to tear your spinach into a bowl. If you use the baby spinach, maybe you won't have to do that. But to that, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of green onion. Love a green onion, and I usually resprout them. So I've got, if I buy 1 bunch of green onions, I've got double, or sometimes, you know, they sprout again. And I've got a lot of green onions. Yeah, look how big this is. So this is 2 cups of like, I packed, not like super firmly, loosely packed spinach into like a 1 cup measure. I'll take it. Spinach is good. And it'll wilt a little bit when I pour the hot dressing over it. Yeah, well, that's all I have to do here, I think. Let me see. No, I think I have to add some pepper. Sprinkle with pepper. We'll get some pepper. This is gonna be such a good lunch. Oh, I'm so excited. Yeah, I feel like I might not eat all of this, this salad. All right, let's head back over to the stove. So in this pan, I have 1 slice of bacon that I've cut into small pieces, and I need to cook this until it is crisp. Bacon is looking crispy. We've got the lovely bacon fat, which is part of the dressing. So next I need to blend in the vinegar, sugar, mustard, tarragon, and salt. So vinegar, that's probably gonna make an angry noise when I do this, but it just said vinegar. I'm going apple cider vinegar. This is what my mom would use when she'd make dressings, like hot dressings like this. So that was a tablespoon. I have half a teaspoon, yes, half a teaspoon, because I'm cutting it in half, of sugar. So we got the vinegar, we got the sugar, we got the bacon and the bacon fat. It's looking good and smelling good. 1/8 of a teaspoon of dried tarragon that I've crushed. It's 2 dishes that are using the tarragon. We're gonna blend, blend, blend. It's cooking, it's looking good. And a pinch of salt. Don't need too much. And I didn't measure the mustard. It's supposed to be a half a teaspoon of Dijon mustard. So we're just gonna see what we feel good about. I think that's probably good. I might add a little more. Ooh, I like this. Oh, it smells so good. Oh, wow. We're just gonna do a little bit more. And I think we're ready to assemble this salad pretty much. Just gotta get that last bit of mustard mixed in. Now I just need to add this to the spinach and green onion and kind of toss it to coat. And I'm scraping the pan pretty well with a heat resistant spatula just so I get all that goodness. You know, it doesn't make a ton of dressing, just enough. And then the spinach from the heat, it is wilting. You're just kind of wilting it and reducing it in size. It's kind of hard to pick up on camera, but you can see that the spinach leaves are nice and shiny. And that's everything. That's all I had to do. So I think it's time to plate everything and give it a taste. All right, I'm very excited. The sauce on the chicken did thicken up a little bit, probably just because I kept it warm on the stove. I think it's still gonna taste really good. And it's probably not gonna thicken as much if you just like eat it right away. But with that said, let's start with the chicken. I just have this brown rice and quinoa mix that I microwaved. You're supposed to serve it with rice. So let's get a piece of chicken. Let's get some rice. That is delicious. Oh my, that is really simple. It didn't take very long either, and it tastes really good. I've said this before, I never expect these recipes to be bad. This one is really good. Yeah, we're gonna put that in the rotation. The spinach, the wilted spinach salad. I did end up putting a little bit in a small bowl. You know, I can eat the rest of that tomorrow. So I did cut the recipe in half for this. That is nicely dressed. You can really taste the tarragon in there. I've got some bacon in that bite. The bacon and the sugar mixed together. Oh, and then, yeah, I'm picking up on that Dijon mustard too. This is really good too. I feel like these things go together nicely. And that brings us to the fresh fruit crisp, in this case, apple. It says you can serve this with cream or ice cream. I'll probably add some ice cream after my initial taste. I wanted to taste it sort of like on its own, see where it goes. And actually, let me bring this up so you can see a little bit more closely. You can see like the apples, of course, they shrank a little bit in the oven. So these, you know, that's to be expected when you make something like this. The apples give up their moisture. I love Granny Smith apples for something like this because they have a lot of good flavor, a lot of nice tartness. Because the crumble topping is nice and sweet. I do like the pecans in there too. Very good. So I think this is a great meal for 2, dinner, lunch, whatever. Didn't make a ton of extras. Although that chicken is good enough. I feel like I'd make a double batch and have it again like the next day. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and enjoy my lunch. I will be back in a little while with my thoughts on how this menu went. Better Homes and Gardens Meals for 1 or 2 was published in 1978. I'm always so happy when I can find a cookbook that has recipes for just 2 people, you know, small batch recipes, definitely my kind of thing. Now I have cooked from this book on my channel once before. I think it was back in June of 2024. I'll link the video in the description down below. And I made 3 completely different things. My favorite of that video, I believe, was the coffee cake. I don't know if I have a favorite on this video. I gotta say, this whole meal, just everything went together really well. I was very happy with my recipe choices. So let's talk about this cookbook. It's one of those skinny Better Homes and Gardens. I have a lot of these. They published a lot of these through mostly the 70s, 80s, in the 60s, maybe even in the late 60s, actually. In the earlier 60s, they had another format of skinny cookbook. I think there were like maybe 8 of them in the series. I've covered some of those before too. I actually have a playlist, a whole Better Homes and Gardens playlist that I'll also link in the description down below, so you can check some of those out. But I gotta comment on the font of this, like the front of this book. It's so different. It's like tall and skinny, and they kind of use a variation on the back here and a little bit in the book as well, sort of like in the introductory pages. It's that like long skinny font. Better Homes and Gardens, like the designs of their cookbooks, they were always, especially in these skinny ones, they were like always changing it up. You know, there wasn't really a consistent like lettering style throughout the series here. It's like, yeah, they had the Better Homes and Gardens thing at the top, but this part, the title of the book, they always seem to change it up, and I just love that about them. Also interesting, sort of more toward the late 70s and early 80s, Better Homes and Gardens started arranging sort of like columns for their recipes. Like that's how their recipes were written out. I love when a cookbook for 2 has a desserts chapter, and look at that baked Alaska. You can make yourself a little tiny baked Alaska. Ooh, peppermint baked Alaska is even better. I love making like single serve or small batch desserts. Just great. Yeah, so I did actually make one of the recipes on this page, but this photo right here, this is the stuffed zucchini, I believe. I made this for my previous video where I cooked from this book. I don't even know if I showed that photo in that video. We have a whole 2-page spread about omelets, different fillings, how to make them. I really like omelets, you know, makes a great breakfast, makes a great lunch or dinner as well. What is that? Garden pasta salad. That's what it is. That is what I'm talking about. Pasta salad is a favorite of mine. Lots of main meal salads. And then we've got some soups here too. Those are Spanish hamburger soup. It looks pretty good, looks pretty good. Oh, individual orange salad molds. We couldn't get away without a little Jell-O in the mix. Good variety of different types of recipes. Yes, we have main dishes, but we have sides, we have desserts. I think there's also a beverages chapter in here. It's got a little bit of everything. So the menu I put together today, I was so happy with it. I just think everything went together really well. Things complemented one another, and I very much enjoyed my lunch. So the first recipe that I started cooking was dessert, actually. It was fresh fruit crisp, and I chose to use apples as my fresh fruit. I always have apples on hand. They last a long time. You know, something that's important when you have a small household. You know, if you buy things that are going to spoil fast, maybe you're not going to use them up in time, but apples, they just keep for a really long time. And they're versatile. They're good snacks. Great as just slices, but then to use them for cooking as well. This was pretty quick to put together. Yes, it had to bake for 40 minutes, but this is something I could see myself sort of assembling earlier in the day, and then maybe before I start cooking dinner, baking this in the oven while I'm cooking everything else. And the timing kind of works out beautifully, you know, putting it in the oven, you know, I've got the 40 minutes while it's baking to cook my other dishes, take it out, eat your dinner, and then you still have nice warm apple crisp. And I liked the topping on this one. The seasonings in it, the cinnamon, the nutmeg was really, really good. I liked the addition of the pecans. I don't usually put nuts in my apple crisp or apple crumble, but I did like them here. Pecans, I've sort of come around to them. A lot of times I would leave nuts out of like baked goods and things unless the recipe really relied on them, but I don't know, pecans in the last couple of years I've sort of like warmed up to them a little bit. My second recipe was creamy chicken tarragon. Delicious. I loved this recipe. For as easy as it was to make, the results were really wonderful. and it did reheat well. I had the rest of it for lunch today. I could see myself making this, sort of putting it in my regular dinner rotation. Yeah, I try a lot of vintage recipes and not all of them make it like into my everyday life, but I could see myself putting this one together pretty quickly. Like it doesn't take very long to make this. It's also really nice that it's a stovetop recipe. I don't know. Sometimes it's just nice to have something like that where you're not turning the oven on. Of course, like if I stick to this menu, when I make it in the future, I'm gonna have to turn my oven on for the little apple crisps, but I could have made those in my toaster oven. Yeah, I'm not really sure why I didn't, but that is something I will keep in mind for next time. Those fit really nicely just in the toaster oven. And for my final recipe, I made a side dish salad, a wilted spinach salad. And I really like spinach. I like the spinach salads with sort of a warm bacon dressing. This is what this was. It made, for me, like just the right amount of dressing. It was like shiny spinach leaves without having a lot of excess. If you like a lot of dressing, you know, of course, make extra or use like half as much spinach. For me, I just like the leaves to be nicely coated. The bacon in this, of course, like what a classic combination of like the spinach, the bacon. It was nice to get those little surprise bacon bites, and the bacon becomes a little bit candied, you know, because of the sugar. So I know that these servings were supposed to be generously sized because in the book it says that you're supposed to serve this on 2 large platters. So although it kind of seemed like, oh, was that too much spinach? Like that was the size that it was supposed to be. Yeah, so I ended up splitting that in 2. Although I did cut the recipe in half, it was supposed to make 1 serving. Half of that was enough for me. But yeah, really delicious. Just I like salads, but I like to sort of like mix them up and try to do different things. And this one was just a really nice one. Like not one that I would always think to make, but something to keep in mind. And I don't think I'm done with this book either. There are a lot of recipes in here that I still would like to try. And I think the ones that I chose, the menu itself was just really nice. Like it was a very realistic kind of menu, I think. Would you like to see more small batch recipes or cooking for 2 videos? I have an entire playlist and I'll link it in the description down below. I'd like to say a special thank you to my Patreon supporters. If you'd like to join us over there, I'll have a link in the description so that you can do that. Don't forget to look out for each other and take care of each other, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.